Hi, this is Cup of Military Podcast. Freedom of speech versus peace of mind, and where do you draw the line? So good morning. We're going to talk about today's episode, not about politics. It's about, not taking sides. It's about questioning a lot of people who are quietly struggling with, trauma. Where do you draw the line between freedom of speech and someone else's peace of mind? Especially when that speech comes in the form of repeated signage, anti-war signs, anti-hate signs, anti-gun signs displayed over and over and over, day after day, 7 days a week, that impacts people who have lived through trauma, especially veterans. So setting the content, let me be clear from the start. Freedom of speech matters. It does matter. And one of the foundations of this country is freedom of speech. But freedom of speech was never meant to be freedom of responsibility. And it was never meant to be used as a weapon, which it is. I'm not talking about one sign. I'm talking about 8, 9, 12 signs, 13 signs, repeated messages, visually every single day, 7 days a week. When signing stops being expressive and starts becoming constant exposure, we have to ask a hard question. At what point does expression turn into harm? Living in trauma is reality. Here's something many people don't understand. Trauma doesn't turn off when the war ends. Trauma doesn't turn off when somebody takes a uniform off, like I did. For veterans and the others who live through violence, loss, prolonged stress, repeated visual triggers can activate the nervous system. The same as a loud noise or somebody with a sudden move can do that to somebody. It's not weakness. It's how the brain protects itself after survival experience. So when someone says, just don't look at the signs, they don't understand trauma. You don't always get to choose what your brain reacts to, and that's part of the problem. So where does the line start to matter? So where is the line? Legally, the line often shows up, when behavior becomes harassing, targeting, which this man has done. He targeted me, and he did this intentionally disrupting my entire life on a daily basis. But there's also a moral line, not just a legal one. Just because something is legal doesn't mean that it's right. If your expression requires someone else to relive trauma every day, single day, that deserves a reflection, doesn't it? So here's the question I want to leave with you. Can freedom of speech coexist with compassion? Can we express beliefs without destroying somebody else's sense of safety? And are we willing to ask ourselves whether that we're doing is about expression or is it about provoking a reaction from somebody? These are the questions you have to ask yourself, especially coming from a veteran. Day in and day out, day in and day out, 7 days a week, we're looking at anti-war signs and anti-gun signs and anti-hate signs is something that I had to live through when I came back from in-country. 7 days of protecting President Nixon was not a picnic. These people hated us. They hated what we resembled. And it didn't stop there. It continued all through my life, even when I got out of the service. I tried to go to college in Farmington where they hated Vietnam vets, especially the dean, because I asked him face to face. His answer was, I don't like Vietnam veterans, you guys are destructive. And that's what I've had to live with. So think about it. When does this signage that we have in the areas turn into something more than just freedom of speech? Take care.